All right, it's time for the 4080 Super to play this game, which is the same as 4080 regular. So yeah, they both are the same thing, and it depends on where I'm looking right now. This is like everything cinematic. Let me just go through the settings. I just fought that beast and beat his ass. Well, he beat me, then I beat him. Well, I didn't get it on recording, so I regretted that. So yeah, let's just go. This is cinematic. Everything maxed out. No upscaling. Using the LAO on 4K. And it's giving me 45 to 49 FPS. It did not break the 50 FPS barrier, or it's dropping out in this area, like this scene, it's dropping to 39. Yeah, so it 100% lows, they drop every time I go to the menu, to the settings menu. Yeah, so this is cinematic, is not really good to play at. Like, it's very high is good enough, and as you can see, I'm gonna turn it to very high. It's gonna be like 50 FPS and more. As you can see, 54 FPS drop like from like 40, 41, 42, and 49, 39. Now it's like high 40s and low 50s, which is better than low 40s and high 30s. And the graphics quality doesn't look very similar, and it would drop from like 8 GB of VRAM something like to 7.8, 7.9. And it's not really a big drop in VRAM, but it's like, you know, it's a welcome drop if you want to play it on a 3070 or something like that. You know that you're not going to be using all that much VRAM because you already have 8 GB and already bottlenecked by the VRAM amount you have. Yeah, very high is very good, especially if you're using upscaling. Well, you have to use upscaling in this game because this game is very intensive. Yeah, so now let me just go and use a little bit of frame generation. Not gonna use upscaling, but I'm gonna use frame generation. Confirm it, go back. I was in the 50s in this area, now I'm in the 80s. I was gonna say 30s. Let me reset 100% lows. They do drop again, but they do not drop to 15, 20 FPS. They're still in the 60s, which is very good. In this area where I fought that beast, when I was fighting that beast, even though I had very high instead of cinematic, it dropped to the 40s, like low 40s, because he was in the scene. So yeah, that's where the things are. I don't want to really progress through the story because I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm just gonna keep roaming around this area and seeing how it runs in this area. Now I'm gonna disable frame generation. I'm gonna enable DLSS on quality. Okay, let's disable frame generation, enable DLSS on quality, which is like 67. Confirm it, go back. Everything's very high. DLSS on quality. It's giving me the same as frame generation without any upscaling, while it's looking the same, the exact same as native resolution. Some people would debate like, oh, it doesn't look the same as native resolution. They're gonna nitpick on some very far away objects, but truth of it is, it looks like exactly the same as native resolution with added anti-aliasing from DLSS. So it actually looks a little bit better than native resolution. That's how I look at it. That's how I see it. And it's not using that much of VRAM right now. It's using like 7.4. It dropped from like 8 to 7.4, which is 600 megabytes of VRAM drop. The RAM is going to stay the same, 9 or 8 gigabytes of RAM across all resolutions, across all settings. Yeah. And in this area, this area right here is the intensive area. It's the most intensive area. No, not this one. This one right here is more intensive than the one where I fought, you know, the beast over there. And it drops to the 70s from 80s. 100% lows are not very far away, like close to the 60s. So you're not gonna feel those dips and stutters in the performance. All right, so let's just go and use DLSS on performance. It doesn't want to stick to an odd number for some reason. This game is like, if I put it 51, it's gonna go to 50. You see, no, 1 second. Let me just prove my point. Yeah, it's like I put it on 67. See, I put in 51 and now it's gone back to 50. So it doesn't want to stick to a fixed odd number. Okay, so DLSS on performance bumps me from 80 to 100 FPS in this area, which is very good. And 100 FPS in this game on 4K, which doesn't look exactly as 4K. I mean, on my screen, because it's like a 48-inch OLED, so it doesn't really look exactly as 4K like the DLSS Quality does. But it looks way better than 1440p native on this screen. So yeah. And even like on 1440p screen, when I had a 3070, I used to play games at 4K DLSS resolution on DLSS performance instead of playing at native resolution of my monitor, which was 1440p. So yeah. DLSS did not drop my VRAM usage that much. Dropped like probably 70 or 80 megabytes. So looking this way, it's like 7.1 gigabyte. Looking this way, 7.3 gigabyte for some reason. Nope, it just stayed like it was. Okay. And yeah, the RAM, as I said, is gonna stay the same. Not gonna be yeah, it's not gonna be increasing or decreasing anytime soon. All right, now I'm gonna be using full RT, so I have to restart the game. Go to resolutions. No, not resolution. Full ray tracing. I'm gonna do very high. I'm gonna start with very high. I'm gonna see the difference between low and very high. But you know, if you wanna go ray tracing, go very high. Don't go medium because it's not gonna make any sense. Medium and low, they look the same actually in this game, and yeah, they don't look that very much different from rasterized lighting, RTGI. Okay, so let's just enable it and see you after I restart the game. Okay, now that the ray tracing is on very high, I'm gonna set it to very low. Not very low, low. Go back and see how it runs. It hitched. Okay, 27 FPS. The game looks a little bit different though. Doesn't look actually the same as I thought, but looks a little bit light, like brighter. I was gonna say lighter, but it's not lighter, it's a brighter image. But the FPS is suffering. The FPS is actually fucking suffering. And the VRAM on the, it was like 7 something, now it's like 9. Yeah, I left it at 7 gigabytes, 0.1, now it's 9 because of ray tracing, 2 gigabytes added. Okay, that's not, you know, not bad. But the FPS is suffering actually. I'm not gonna be playing this game like this. The FPS is dropped significantly. Now let's try on very high. That was low. Now let's try it on very high and see how it looks on very high and how it plays. It looks different, but it doesn't look any. It doesn't look like 100% different. And added 1 gigabyte, 0.3 of VRAM. It was like 9 gigabytes, 0.95, 93. Now it's like 10 gigabytes, 0.3. So, yeah. And this area is actually less intensive than the other area down there. Let me just go down there. Oh, just looking at it. Dropped it from like 25, 23 to like 20 FPS. Yeah, this is not good. Let's use a little bit of upscaling. So, upscaling, I'm going to be using DLSS frame generation as well, but let's use quality upscaling first. Okay. 38. You see the difference between 30 and 38 is very big. It's like going closer to 40s makes it very smoother than 30 FPS. You can feel it, you can see it, you can interact with it. That smoothness is just different. And probably in this area where you fight the beast is gonna be less intensive. So yes, it reaches like 40s. Is it gonna hit the 45? No, it doesn't hit 45, but at least in the low 40s instead of 30 FPS. All right, let's use DLSS on performance. Okay, DLSS on performance. DLSS performance bumps me to 60 FPS with very high RT, and the VRAM dropped from 10.3 to 8.5 gigabytes of VRAM being used right now. DRAM, as I said, is gonna stay the same, 9 gigabytes no matter what resolution, what settings you use. Yeah. So let me reach in the 100% lows. This area drops to 50s. It's still high 50s, 56, 55, 57. In this area 60. So like probably the worst case scenario is gonna be like 50 FPS with these settings. Yeah, 100% lows are not that bad as well. Okay, let's use frame generation now. Frame generation is gonna probably increase the VRAM usage as well. Nope, it didn't. Yeah, it did. 1 gigabyte more. Oh, for a second it went to 11 gigabytes of VRAM for a second, but it went down to like 9.6, 9.3, 9.5, which is not bad. Let me reach at 100% lows. And especially like going from this area, like on the stairs, like probably at the end of the stairs, there's a hitch in the performance. I'm not sure why. You can see it in the you can see it in the time graph. It's like there's a hitch whenever I'm going or in or out of this area right here. So yeah, but 90 FPS is fucking welcome, you know what I mean? I would like to see 90 FPS any time of the day in any game, but this game, particularly like games like this, God of War, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil games, this game as well, Elden Ring, they don't really need more than 60 FPS. If you have like a stable 60 FPS, that is like very good. That is excellent, not just very good. That's excellent FPS. So yeah, this is how it runs on 4K. DLSS performance with DLSS frame generation, full ray tracing. Let's try 1440p. I'm gonna disable ray tracing, or actually I'm gonna try it with ray tracing first, so I don't really have to go back and forth. So let's do frame generation off, DLSS off, confirm it, and keep ray tracing on very high. Let's go 1440p. Back. So 1440p with RT high is a little bit better than 28, 29 FPS, 30 FPS with 4K. It's a little bit in like high 40s and mid 40s, but it's still using the same amount of VRAM, I would say, 9 gigabytes point something. And the RAM, as I said, is just increased for some reason. From going from 4K was like 9.2, 9.3, now it's like 9.5, 9.6 gigabytes of RAM being used. And yeah, I mean this area is light and not less intensive. This area is more intensive. This is where I you know, we get the 30s and stuff like that for some reason. Just gonna go like this way. Just look for some people to beat, because like just doing that area like made me bored. Oh, this is gonna start like dropping and breaking. So yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys that I did not reach this area yet, so, or that haven't played the game yet. So I'm just keeping it spoil free and seeing how it runs on the various hardware that I have. Well, various GPUs that I have, not all hardware, but various GPUs. Let's take this. This is like the will of that beast that I beat, probably. Nope, this is a different area actually. Yeah, so let's try no RT. Where is yeah, RT? Now I'm gonna disable. No, let's try the RT with DLSS actually on quality. I didn't try it on DLSS quality yet, so let's just try it on DLSS quality. So from 40 FPS, 45, now to 78, 76, 75 FPS, which is not bad. It's still good. The GPU is still consuming the same power. Like, shouldn't be consuming more power. Like, aren't the RT cores like different than the shader cores? I don't know. I don't know how this GPUs actually distribute power. Probably it's like gonna keep using the same amount of power, just like distributed on different cores. I'm not gonna touch that instance altar or shrine or whatever that shit is yet. I'm gonna go beat those guys. So now it's dropping to 60s. So yeah, this area, like as I said, like the area that I was in before, like it was the worst case scenario. Like it's gonna drop to 60s or like 40s if you're not using DLSS. Yeah, let's beat these guys. All right, I'm not gonna try DLSS on performance, but I'm gonna try DLSS frame generation because this is already 1440p and DLSS performance is gonna just look ass. Let's go back. The frame generation bumped me from 60s to 100 FPS, which is good. 40 FPS uplift. It did not really double the FPS. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to double the FPS. But some implementation of frame generation is different than other implementation of frame generation. So, yeah, some interpolate frames equally, like between every 2 frames they put a frame, but some interpretations of this implementations of this DLSS frame generation technology just go first frame and second frame they put a frame in between, but second frame and third frame there is no frame in between, and then the third frame and fourth frame there's a frame in between. So yeah, they just give you like 33%, like 40% of the performance uplift. They don't actually double it. So yeah, this is how it is. And actually it's really good. I mean, it's 40 FPS from 60 is not bad. Like that's the huge uplift. That's probably like 70% of what is the percentage of 40 from 60? It's not 80. It's gotta be like 70 something. 70% improvement over what I had before. All right, let's use no ray tracing right now. Gonna keep it at 100 again. No ray tracing, and I'm gonna see you after I restart the game. Okay, so now there is no RT on 1440p. Frame regeneration and DLSS upscaling is disabled. Everything is set to very high. Now we're gonna see how it runs without any of that bullshit on rasterized performance on 1440p. It's running actually very good. I mean, 90, 80 FPS. It was 90s in here, like now 80, high 80s. It's legit. I mean, it's valid. I mean, this FPS without any upscaling looks good. For me, it doesn't look good because I have 48 inch and 1440p is like a little bit too low for 48 inch. But yeah, if you have a 1440p screen, it's gonna look better. But I would advise you to use DLSS on performance, and it's gonna look better. You know, 4K DLSS performance. Use DLSR to increase the resolution to 4K, and then use DLSS on performance. So yeah, it's gonna look better than native 1440p. And actually, it's using less VRAM than ever before. It's like using 6.5. I think when I started, it was like using 7 something. Then it increased to 8 and 9 and 11. Now it's using 6.5 gigabytes of VRAM, which is very good, to be honest. But yeah, using DLSS on 4K, DLSS performance is gonna yield more performance, more FPS, but it's gonna look way better than native 1440p. That's what I'm saying. Let's use DLSS right now. DLSS on quality. I'm not gonna use DLSS performance here because it's already gonna be like 100 FPS. Yeah. Yeah, let me just go beat the other guys. So DLSS on quality looks a little bit same as 1440p. It doesn't look actually like literally the same. It looks a little bit the same, just a tad bit similar to native 1440p to my eyes with the screen. But because I have a bigger screen, that's why I can see that it doesn't look exactly the same. Probably on a smaller screen like 27 inch, which is the maximum of 1440p screen should be. It's probably gonna look the same, exactly the same as 1440p native, but I'm not sure. I don't have a 27 inch screen, and I haven't had that for a long time. So let's use DLSS. Actually, let's drop. I'm not gonna use DLSS on performance because it's already looking bad. I'm just gonna increase this and use DLSS on frame generation. Before I do 1080p, yeah, another 50 FPS. Well, it was like 113, 109, so another 40 FPS probably. Oh, is this a boss? No, this is not a boss. Just the bird thing. So we gain some stamina, and I'm gonna beat his ass. Wait, he can hit me while I'm hitting him? That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's not a real life kind of thing. Let me go back. This Raven is stronger than some bosses. I can tell this Raven is fucking stronger than some bosses. All right, let's use 1080p. This is gonna be like very, very non-intensive. Okay, 1080p. Let me just disable DLSS. Gonna have DLSS on 100%. And ray tracing, I'm gonna be doing that later. 1080p right off the bat that gives me 100 FPS, but you can see like some noise right here. 1080p is not very good with Unreal Engine 5 for some reason. Is that just the water or just like because that wasn't there before? But yeah, 1080p looking very good, looking FPS wise, not image quality wise. And yeah, it's not using a lot of VRAM again. It's using the same as 1440p, but it's not using a lot. It's not gonna drop from 6 gigabytes. I think this game, like the minimum that it uses is 6 gigabytes of VRAM. It's not gonna drop from that. It's gonna keep it 6 gigabytes point something. And yeah, 100 FPS is really good, like without any upscaling, without anything. But ray tracing is gonna drop that shit to like 50 FPS. And then you're gonna have to use upscaler, like at least frame generation. Alright, let me just go and enable RT. Graphics, RT. Then I'm gonna see you after I restart the game. Okay, now DLSS is off, ray tracing is on very high rate 1080p. And as I said, oh, I saw 50. I was like, as I said, it's gonna drop that shit to 50 from 100. But yeah, it's like high 50s, low 60s. Dropped to like 40 FPS. Yeah, and it's looking very awful because 1080p, of course, gonna look awful. But the VRAM utilization just increased from 6.5 to 7.5, a gigabyte of VRAM usage. Let me use ray tracing. I mean, frame generation. Help. Wait. Probably gonna give it like 30 more FPS. Yeah, as you can see, from like 70s from 90s, only 20 FPS. Really, only 20 FPS increase. That's not good. It's not good enough. It's good, but it's not good enough. And it's taking a gigabyte and a half from VRAM just to give me 20 FPS more. Bullshit. I keep resetting to 100% lows, but they keep dropping for some reason. Yeah, I think they're gonna just keep dropping because as I traverse, there's like traversal stutter in this game. Unreal Engine 5 again. So yeah. I mean, the game is actually beautiful. Even at 1080p, you can see like it's a fucking masterpiece of a game. But yeah, the performance drop it's not really worth it from ray tracing. This is a jungle. It's not gonna be like having, like as I said before in the video of the 3090 Ti. It's not gonna be having lights, neon lights and signs and city lights and stuff like that to use ray tracing or like reflections, like glass reflections. Yeah, sure, it's gonna have like water reflections and RTGI, but that shit is like, this is a forest. Rasterized lighting is more than enough, you know, and the performance hit to the performance is just not worth it. Does not work. All right, guys, I'm gonna be trying on the 4090, which is the biggest and baddest GPU out there, and see how it runs with that GPU on like all the resolutions actually. Yeah, see you next video.